Welcome to another cracking edition of the MCDFNL Footy Show. My name's Yeendy, excited to be with you again this week. I'm here with the MCDFNL Operations Manager, Shane Anwell. Thanks again for joining us, mate.
No worries, Yeendy.
Now, we had some good matches on the weekend, mate, but we also had some blowouts. But let's talk up one of the big matches that we saw on the weekend, and it was the top side. It has now been dethroned as the top side. It was Natty going down to Navarre by 8 points in a cracking encounter. And I remember last week when we spoke on the show, we were a bit divided on which way this one will go. But the mighty Grasshoppers got up.
Yeah, I didn't pick that one. I think I had Natty there to have the win. But it was a good game all along, 9-7 to 9-15. A little bit inaccurate there for Navarre, but it certainly did the job for them, and they got over the line with those few extra behinds. Yeah,
they did, mate. And Navarre trailed virtually all day before kicking 5-3 in the final term. And I thought it was interesting because I think they were about 4-13 at the three-quarter time, and then they managed to kick straight in the final term. That's what got them over the line.
Yep.
So, good one there. Another close one that we saw was Lexington defeating Avoca by 5 points. And we did back this one that was going to be a little bit close, and it certainly delivered. It's probably one of the premier matches of the recent weeks.
Yeah, it certainly was. There was 3 or 4 good games, and this is one of them over the weekend. What was the margin there? 5 points again, another close one. And one Lexington probably will be really happy that they've got one on the board and looking for a couple more here on.
They were in front for virtually all day. Steele Cox was the standout with 4 goals for the winners. Looking at one of the big games, Carisbrook. They're up and about thanks to Luke Treacy with 7 goals. They defeated Talbot by a staggering 97 points, and the game was set up with an 8-0 second term. And the Hawks were up at quarter time, Shano, but they couldn't sustain that confidence.
No, they couldn't, and as you said, 8-0 will certainly do it every time. Talbot have been chugging along pretty well, but I think this sort of gave them a pretty good check about where they're at against one of the really top sides.
The MCDFNL match of the round, it was Newstead taking on the Maryborough Rovers, and it delivered in buckets and spades. Newstead winning that one by 12 points, and another good encounter between two sides who were jostling for positions up the sort of the bottom end of the top 8.
Yeah, that's right. Newstead had a bit of a slow start. They dropped a couple early on, but I think they've won 3 out of their last 4 or 5, so they've started to pick their game up there. They'll be happy with that. I think they're sitting about 10th on the ladder, but they're only just out of the 8, and they'll be looking to move up as the weeks come on.
Showing to be a very tight competition around that bottom end of the ladder. Good to see Tom Rees in fine form. He kicked 4 goals for the winners, and the other 3 games we started to see some blowouts. We saw Harcourt with 50 scoring shots to defeat Maldon by over 130 points. What a big result.
Yeah, not a lot more to add there, really. I think you've just summed it up there with the 50 scoring shots. It's a bit of a tough slog for Maldon on Saturday, and well done to Harcourt.
Bit of a change of pace there for the Bombers as well, because they were quite competitive against Denali the previous week, and unfortunately couldn't get their game on par where they wanted to this time around. Harcourt set it up with 9-1 in the second term. Another big blow. We speak about Denali. They didn't have a great day at the office, suffering the biggest defeat of the weekend to the tune of 218 points against a rampaging Saints. What a result.
Yeah, I think like the previous game, probably not much more that we can add there. 37 goals is always a massive score, and poor old Denali were on the end of it. But yeah, look, we'll move on to next week for those guys, I think.
Yeah, certainly right there. The key number for the weekend was number 11 in that game. The Saints, they kicked 11 goals 11-5 in the first term, 11-4 in the third term. And Jake Powell kicked 11 goals, so that was a prominent number. As we turn our attention to the Sunday game, the final round of this past weekend, and Royal Park just too strong for Campbell's Creek.
Yeah, the margin, I think, is probably the surprise there. I think we tipped Royal Park to get up 150, 60-odd points there being the margin. I don't think anyone would have thought it would have blown out to that.
Particularly in the final term, mate, because the Tigers, they did kick 14-3 in the final term. So it was relatively close enough at three-quarter time before they kicked away.
Yeah, certainly a bit of party time in the last quarter there.
Yeah, they certainly love kicking goals there. Ben Clay was outstanding with 8 goals. Shana, that is all we've got for on the wrap up of round 7. We look forward to catching up with you next week.
At
the end of the week.
Been a pleasure.